So throughout my career, one of the challenges I had was moving from that team position into a leadership role and then getting out of the friend zone.
Okay, so, I mean, it's really common, right? If you're going
Yeah.
to succession plan up inside a business, there's a good chance that if you're working your way through the business, that's going to unfold at some point in time where you have to go, oh, here's my peers
Yeah.
or my friends. And then all of a sudden I'm in a position where we might have to have some difficult conversations or might do certain boundaries. And then do those people try and push those boundaries because they know you in a different context? And then all of a sudden it might shift things like your social life as well. Like, did you used to socialize with these peeps? And then now as the leader, is it an appropriate line adjustment? And you still go ahead and do those kinds of things. So I think it's a difficult transition, and few things around that really are, before taking the new role or the elevated role, are you able to work with your peers and say, hey, here's what this might look like. How do we want to navigate that so that there's buy-in, that you're collaborating with each other and going, this is going to be an adjustment for all of us. It's not just an adjustment for you, but it's what does that mean for your people as well that you're now going to be leading. So I'd be having, really honest, transparent one-on-ones, and then potentially as a group, if that feels appropriate, like, what's this going to feel like for us all?
Yeah.
Like, we're all in this together. What's it going to feel like? What are the boundaries we need to have in play now? What do you perceive some of the ruptures might be in that space? What do you think is going to be difficult about not trying to push on my boundary there? And just being very transparent and open and having lots of conversation. So that's one piece. I think it's a great opportunity to know yourself at that point in time too, around how do you draw boundaries? Are you actually good at being able to differentiate and step into different roles? And if you're triggered by that, that's your self-inner work to be having a look at. What is it about feeling somewhat challenged to step into a role where you can't entertain the same things, where you may not be able to share as much information or as fully as you might have done when you're at peer level? Or you can't just have that in-office joke because it's no longer appropriate because you're not working in the same team. If you have resistance to that, what's the reason for that? Are you, is it around people pleasing? What is your belief around sense of belonging that shifts as your role shifts? So there's those aspects. And then I think, in all honesty, give yourself space to grieve. Grieve the ending, that's how it was, and that this is now going to be a different piece. It's a transition, and it can feel disconnecting. It can feel isolating. It can feel lonely. And then who in this new role are you going to go and get support from to help you through that transition? And is the workplace a place that's offering that type of support as well? So there's many different lenses to look through in that space.
Yeah, I've never really thought about dates. I don't think people put enough emphasis on that transition and how it's actually probably the hardest transition I've done, excuse me, in my career. Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, I overcame it, but all of a sudden you go from being everybody's friend to not, And for me, as a people pleaser by nature, and my, just in my everyday life, that's really tough.
You got to look at what are some of the support mechanisms in place for that so that people don't actually feel really isolated. I see often in that space that sometimes once elevated, the person goes, I actually don't want this. The feeling of being separate is too uncomfortable.
Right.
And that can be legitimate depending on the industry as well, right? So you want to make sure that people can stay connected to what's important to them. And if being a part of the group is really, really important, then you sort of want to look at, hang on, is it the right environment to be moving from peer up? Or is it actually better for the individuals and the culture to hire externally and bring somebody else in, or cross-pollinate, if you like, and bring someone from across another work group inside the organisation? So looking at what's the whole picture of the dynamic and what does it do to people?
Yeah.
Because there's no point elevating someone to a leadership role from their team if they then don't feel well within themselves.
And also just something came to me on the other side of the coin, it's hard, like moving into that leadership space.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's also equally hard when people watch other persons move into that leadership, and then all of a sudden they feel, I'm sure they have feelings like, oh, I've lost my best friend. I'm a big believer in having a work best friend. I think it's very important.
Okay.
But then to watch that best friend move into a leadership position, and then, you can't really do that, kind of sort of causes that separation. So it could actually be equally hard for
Yeah.
the people that are, maybe feeling left behind.
Definitely. And I think that's where the really open, transparent, no taboo topic conversations need to be unfolding, where, hey, this is an experience we're all having. We are all going to have a different opinion about it, different feelings about it. Can we sit down and really just let that unfold so we understand each other's perspective? So I think a lot of it's going to come down to, is there room for people to have feelings about it?
Yeah.
And is there room for dialogue around that? And then when people feel seen, heard and understood, the transition can be so much smoother, because even though people might be feeling uncomfortable or a mix, it could be some discomfort, but it could also be excitement for the other person. But is there room for all of that to be spoken about?
Yeah.
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 And then people don't feel like they have to stuff that down or hide it or whatever. And it can even be things like, why did they get the promotion and not me? Or why did they get it and not somebody else? And does it then create an in culture with the others around that can be kind of gossipy to some extent?
Yeah.
And what is the negative impact that can then start to perpetuate as well? Which is why I always come back down to, is there room for people to safely, even if it's an unpopular opinion, share what their experience is and it not be held against them?